there is a certain kind of silence that only comes after something beautiful ends. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of what is already burned. You can hear it if you sit still enough. The faint hiss of what used to be flame, the slow settling of wood that once roared with life. And in that sound, you begin to understand something that no living fire could ever teach you, that even when the light fades, something remains. The ash remembers. It doesn't glow anymore. It doesn't reach or dance or devour. But deep within its gray stillness, there's a quiet warmth, a memory of what it once was. We spend so much of life chasing the flame, the love, the passion, the rush, the certainty that we are alive, because something inside us is burning. But nothing burns forever. Even the brightest fire must learn the stillness of ash. And when it does, you can either grieve it, or you can sit beside it and listen. Dolga pausa. The ash whispers in a language older than words. It tells you what the fire never could. That endings are not destruction, but transformation. It says, I have already been everything I was meant to be. Now I am what remains. And you feel that somewhere deep in your chest, because you too have been flame once. The kind that reached too high, too fast, believing it could touch the stars. You loved, you tried, you fell apart. And now, here you are, still warm, but quieter. That's the strange thing about growing older. You start to understand the beauty of cooling down. When you're young, you think meaning lives in the blaze. You want everything bright, fast, alive. You want to be seen, to matter, to be more than what you are. But later, after the fires you built have burned through, after the names have faded, after the noise inside you finally stops echoing, you realize that meaning lives elsewhere. It lives here, in the gray, in the after, in the ash. Ash doesn't demand. It doesn't fight or explain. It simply rests, a witness to everything that once was, and everything that will come again. Zvuk дождя становится чуть громче. And maybe that's what peace is, not the absence of flame, but the acceptance that you don't need to burn anymore. To feel alive, you touch the ash with your hand. It's cool, soft, fragile. It breaks apart easily. But even as it does, it leaves its mark on you. A faint trace, black, delicate, a memory that refuses to leave your skin. And you understand, nothing truly disappears. Not the fire, not the warmth, not the love. They just change their shape until you learn how to recognize them again. Because life, too, has its seasons of flame and ash. We burn through moments, through people, through identities, believing we are losing ourselves. But we are only changing form, again and again, into something quieter, closer to the essence, that never needed to burn at all. Тишина. Только дыхание и потрескивание углей. The fire is gone now. Only its ghost remains. And yet, somehow, you feel more alive than before, because the ash remembers. And through it, so do you, there's a moment, sitting by the remains of the fire, when you stop seeing ash as what's left behind, and start seeing it as what endures. You begin to notice how it holds the outline of what once was, the curve of the log, the hollow where the flame breathed, the faint echo of warmth that still hums, even after the heat is gone. And it hits you, you're looking at yourself. All the things you've burned through, the hopes, the versions, the faces, they've turned into the same soft gray dust that now rests before you. And yet, like the ash, you're still here, quieter, different, but here. We spend years trying to keep the fire alive. We feed it with ambition, with love, with our desperate need to be seen. But the truth is, not everything is meant to burn forever. Some fires are teachers. They arrive to show you what warmth feels like, what it means to be consumed and remade. Others arrive to end something, a season, a story, a self. And when they leave, they don't ask for permission. They just leave ash. Pause. Most people see that as loss. But the ash knows better. It remembers what the fire forgot. that every flame is temporary, but transformation is eternal. The fire cannot see beyond its hunger. It lives only in the present moment, devouring everything it touches. But the ash is patience. It knows the quiet rhythm of what comes after. It doesn't crave the sky. It doesn't fear the dark. It simply settles. A reminder that even destruction can become something soft. A small gust of wine through the chimney. A faint hum. You look at the ash again and realize how much of your own life lies there. The things you've lost. The people you released. The versions of yourself you had to let burn away. For a long time, you called that pain. You called it failure. But now, you see that it was just the fire doing its work. You had to lose the form, to keep the essence. What is left, this quiet, this calm, this strange, holy emptiness, is not the absence of life. It's what remains. When life stops pretending to be something else, the rain grows louder, filling the pauses like breath. And as you sit there, you realize that the ash still glows faintly, a soft hidden light, almost invisible, but undeniably alive. It's not the fire anymore, but it remembers warmth. It remembers the shape of passion, the sound of laughter, the smell of smoke rising into the night. It remembers the way you once loved, without knowing how to stop, the way you once believed that endings were final. And now, it sits here like a small oracle, reminding you that nothing truly ends. It just becomes quieter. Pause. That's what the soul is. Perhaps not the fire that burns through the body, but the ash that holds what the flame couldn't destroy. Memory, love, grace, forgiveness. They live here, in the residue of what's been lost. You think about all the times you wanted to start over, to rebuild, to reignite, to go back. And suddenly, you understand you never needed to start again. You just needed to see that what remains was always enough, because the ash doesn't need to burn. To know what it's made of, it already remembers. Silence. The fire no longer speaks, but the room is still full of its story. You feel it in the air, in the faint warmth that lingers on the brick, in the way the rain outside slows, as if listening. You realize then, the ash is not an end. It's the memory of transformation, the proof that even after fire, something endures. You breathe, and for the first time, you don't wish for the flame to return. You simply whisper, "Thank you." At some point, you stop waiting for the flame to come back. You stop reaching for what burned. You sit with what remains and realize it's enough. The ash no longer reminds you of loss. It reminds you of life, of everything that was alive once and gave itself completely to its own becoming. The fire was not a mistake. It was a season, and every season ends, not in tragedy, but in completion. Pause. You look around the room. The walls still smell of smoke. The stones are warm, and though the flame is gone, its trace lingers. In the air, in the memory, in you. You begin to understand that life is not about what lasts. It's about what leaves a mark, what leaves warmth in the air long after it's gone. Because even ashes wait, even silence has echo, even endings have their own kind of light. The rain swells and falls again like breathing. You think about all the fires you've lived through, the loves that consumed you, the dreams that blazed bright and fell to dust, the identities you built and watched dissolve. Each time you thought it was over. Each time you thought you had nothing left. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still remembering, because what the fire destroys, the ash preserves. It doesn't keep the form. It keeps the essence. It doesn't hold the shape of what was, but it holds the truth of its warmth. You touch your chest and realize the same thing happened inside you. The passions, the fears, the hungers, they all burn through, and what's left isn't emptiness. It's peace, a pause. Only the rain fills it. We think of peace as something soft, but it's heavier than we imagine. It carries the weight of everything you've survived. It sits in your bones quietly, like ash that will never leave the wind. You've stopped trying to reignite what has already done its work. You've stopped demanding that every warmth must burn, because now you know some warmth lives in memory alone, and that, too, is sacred. Fire crackles faintly, a last ember sighs. Forgiveness comes in moments like this, not as words, not as ceremony, but as a quiet understanding that there was never anything to forgive. The people who hurt you, they were fires too, burning through their own darkness. The mistakes you made, they were sparks, trying to learn how to become light. And the losses you carried, they were simply life, changing its shape again. You look at the ash, and it doesn't make you sad anymore. It makes you grateful, because you see now, to live fully is to allow yourself to burn completely and still love what's left behind. The rain grows softer again, like memory folding on itself. You take a breath. The air smells of rain and smoke. It's the smell of endings and beginnings hiding inside them. You whisper to the room, to the quiet, to whatever still listens, I'm still here. And in that whisper, you feel something move, not outside, but inside. A warmth that doesn't need fire to exist. A presence that doesn't need a name. It's you, the you that survived every burning. The you that remembers. The you that no longer fears endings. Because you've lived through enough of them to see that they're only doors, softly closing, softly opening. A deep silence, the kind that feels alive. The ash that remembers the fire is not mourning the flame. It's keeping its promise. It's saying, I was once alive, and that was enough. You sit in that truth, and for a moment, you realize, so were you, alive, burning, then quiet, and now, simply being. Rain fades to a hush, the fire sleeps completely, and in that stillness, you smile, because you finally understand what you've been calling the end was always a return. The fire never really dies. It just changes form. It becomes the air. It becomes memory. It becomes you.